Hello everybody, Zaxter99. The video gameplay you're looking at right here, guys, is brand new release footage of Dark and Darker, an upcoming dungeon battle royale of sorts that we're all hopeful will come to Steam here. It's been kicked off Steam, but so many of us are hoping for this game to launch on Steam, hopefully in the not too distant future. Now, this game was removed from Steam back on March 26th when Nexon, a Korean company, filed a cease and desist letter on the developer of Dark and Darker here on March 24th, 2 days before it was kicked off Steam. They filed a cease and desist letter to stop the development and sales of Dark and Darker because they are alleging that there are a lot of stolen property and code and all kinds of stuff with their project game called P3. Now guys, I know that I heard around the time that all this was going on back in like February and stuff like that when I was playing the last playtest for Dark and Darker, I was hearing that Nexon, the former employer of some of the Ironmace employees, was suing Ironmace all over a stolen Mosquito asset. I don't know where the hell that came from, guys. I'll have a link down below where you guys can go look at all the original court documents. And you guys can look through that, and you guys can read all the 58-page original complaint from Nexon and all the allegations they're making against Ironmace. So when we look at that particular document here, guys, we see all these different pages showing the similarities between P3, the project Nexon has owned and been working on, and invested over $1 billion in time and money and everything like that in making. And we can see there's a lot of similarities with all these different classes, with the dungeon doors, with some of the monsters and creatures, like the relic and some of the skeleton warriors and stuff like that we see in Dark and Darker. All that was in the P3 project even before the two employees who basically made up Ironmace Productions was terminated and left Nexon back in 2021. So again, it's pretty interesting when you go through all the core documents and you can see the pictures right in the core document trying to show the similarities of what they have and what is found in Ironmace's Dark and Darker today. So I want you guys to understand, first of all, that going in and you can't copyright a game concept, you can't copyright the idea of a game. So for example, Call of Duty can't say, hey, we are going to file a copyright complaint against anybody who makes an FPS game where, players can shoot each other. You can't do that. However, when you have a couple of former employees that used to work on this exact same project or a very similar project with everything that Nexon is alleging here in their core documents, of course, what was P3 and what we have with Dark and Darker, there are just way too many similarities. And when you also go back through the documents here that have been filed, it states here that Nexon had employed 2 employees, and those employees go by Terrence Park. And then we have, it looks like another guy named, it looks like Choi, J-U-H-Y-U-N. Choi is what it looks like here in America. But I did go ahead and try to get the correct how you pronounce this by using YouTube. And it looks like it's actually pronounced Jae-yoon Tre. And Choi, what looks like Choi is pronounced Tre, is what it looks like to me. But anyway, these are the guys that now are head of Ironmace Productions. So these 2 guys used to work for the P3 project for Nexon, and they were both employed by Nexon back in 2018. Now, Nexon has documentation saying that they both signed agreements, that they both understood that the P3 project and, the employee confidentiality for Nexon, and they both signed and agreed to these documents, several documents from 2018 through 2021, when eventually Trey, or what looks like Choi, was terminated in July of 2021. The court documents go on to allege that Choi, or Trey, is a pronunciation, who's the head of Ironmace now, once he was terminated, he tried to basically gather like half of the people that worked on the project to come work for Ironmace Productions and work on Dark and Darker. He also says that by October of 2021, just a few months later, they basically got Dark and Darker on Steam, and they were working on development and releasing videos of Dark and Darker, and it all contained a lot of stolen ideas and concepts and code from the P3 project. So I highly encourage you guys, if you guys think this is all over a stolen Mosquito asset, educate yourselves and understand that Nexon may be in the rights here and may definitely have a lot of proprietary concepts and stuff that they've. If you go through the documentation in the court order, it says that they had over $1.1 billion invested in P3. And then all of a sudden, can you imagine if you were investing that much time and money into something, and then an employee that maybe you had hired to work on the project, these two guys worked on this project for almost a year, from August of 2020 until July of 2021. And so they were definitely in charge of a lot of the P3 stuff, and then all of a sudden they leave Nexon and then start going and making Dark and Darker, which is a game which looks like it takes up like 90% of what is a Dark and Darker as we know it belongs to the P3 project from Nexon. So I can certainly understand, especially when you read the documents in the court order, that Nexon is probably pretty furious, as I think anybody would be if you had a game idea, you were working on it, you spent over $1 billion time and money working on this project, then all of a sudden a terminated employee goes and tries to recruit half the staff working on this project to come work on a different project that's really, a lot of it's the same as what you were working on, and they're basically stealing everything. Now, I'm not on either side, guys. Actually, I'm probably on Ironmace's side because I want to see the launch of Dark and Darker myself. Like I say, I really, really enjoyed the couple playtests that I was in for Dark and Darker. But I just want people and fans of Dark and Darker to understand that this is over a hell of a lot more than a stolen Mosquito asset or something like that. And it may not be that Nexon's just being petty. Anyway, guys, I want to go ahead and state that as of late, some of the attorneys that are breaking down, these court documents and the documents being filed and everything like that, they understand this stuff a lot better than I do, because I am not an attorney by any stretch of the imagination. But it's in the hopes of all the Dark and Darker fans, and probably Ironmace as well. There's a court order tomorrow. This is the first time a judge has ever gotten together with both Ironmace and Nexon to try to, come to a settlement or come to some kind of agreement or whatever. And Ironmace is in the hopes that the judge is going to look at this and say, hey, there's already been a court order for this, the same court order filed in Korea, where both companies were established, where these two guys were employed for Nexon for that, 2018 through 2021. And they're saying this court has been going on, it's a lot further along in Korea than it is here. And they're kind of hoping that this judge for the Seattle courts tomorrow on July 26th will basically throw it out of court and put it back in Korea and say, hey, Korea's already had this longer than we have. They're further along in the, the court proceedings than we are. And they're hoping that they're just going to throw it out, because if they throw it out here in America, then they're thinking that Steam, because it's only in court in Korea, will allow Dark and Darker to come back on Steam, launch, and then they can start selling copies of Dark and Darker. And it's also kind of understood, or makes sense, that if that was to happen and they was to start selling this before the court case can be resolved in Korea or wherever, that's going to only help the defense of Ironmace and hurt Nexon, who's trying to sue Ironmace for this. So it's a big mess, guys. But as a fan of Dark and Darker, I definitely want to see this, launch on Steam. But in the end, I kind of hope whatever's right is actually what happens. If this is a game and proprietary stuff that actually belongs to Nexon, well then, for fuck's sake, I hope that, whatever is right is actually what happens. So if Nexon does own it, then maybe all this should go back to Nexon, and Nexon should be the one that launches the game, if it truly is their game. So I don't know. I don't know a lot about it, guys, but I want you guys all to understand. I want the fans of Dark and Darker to understand that this may indeed be, Nexon's proprietary rights, and it might be their game that is being stolen. So in the end, let's hope that what's right happens, and that we see a game like we all want to see and love launch on Steam in the not too distant future. But in the end, it should belong to whoever justifully owns it and the property and the rights and everything like that. So if it does belong to Nexon, then I understand they're a big microtransaction company. I hate microtransactions, but if it is their damn game, then I hope they win the court case against Ironmace. If Ironmace did actually steal all that, it looks like Nexon is saying. But if Ironmace is in the rights and it is mostly their work and mostly their idea and concept, which it doesn't look like it is from looking at the court documents, then I hope Ironmace wins. I mean, it's easy to just say, hey, man, I hope Ironmace wins because I want to play in Dark and Darker ASAP. I really like it. I mean, I did too. I played 2 of the playtests. I really love Dark and Darker. I think it's a fantastic game. But in the end, I hope that whoever's right actually wins. I hope that Karma wins, and whoever justifully owns this game gets it. So in the end, guys, I understand that we all want Dark and Darker. Ironmace has obviously done a ton of work. They're the ones who put the game up on Steam. They're the ones that ran all these playtests, 5 playtests now? And maybe they deserve the Dark and Darker that they've created. Maybe they're the ones that came up with all the great ideas while they were working for Nexon. This is why I say I just hope that, Karma wins out here, and maybe it'll be that they come to some kind of an agreement. And when the judge sits down with Nexon and with Ironmace, maybe they could work out some kind of a settlement or something. Doesn't sound like Nexon is willing to bend or willing to budge or come to any kind of a settlement or an agreement. But that sounds like a win-win-win to me. A win for Nexon, a win for Ironmace, and a win for us, the gamers. In the end, I just hope it all works out, and hopefully sooner than later. This has been Zaxter99. Be sure you guys let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I would love to know what you guys think about this, and be sure and put it down there. Be sure and rate my video as well, guys. This has been Zaxter99. Have a good one, everybody. Hopefully we see it soon. Peace.